All right. All right. All right. I can see it's ridiculous. I can see it's ridiculous. I can see it's ridiculous. One, two, three. I can see it's ridiculous. One, two, three. I can see it's ridiculous. One, two, three. One, two, three. Sorry, I am currently trying to test the stream, but it is like 20 to 30 seconds behind. So just bear with me. Maybe it should be a bit better once I connect to Drew's stream. Sorry, I'm just waiting for Drew. He reckons he should be about 10 minutes now. Grab some water. And for the record, I don't particularly care about smoking on streams. I think I was smoking last time I spoke to Drew as well. So yeah, I'm still waiting for a link to his. Um, yeah, it's taking this long. My audio might be a little bit weird as well. I think it's coming in too late, skipping the first word or so.
Just try
Try
and
and
switch
switch
to
to
the
the
basic
basic
laptop
laptop
microphones.
microphones.
See
See
if
if
this
this
works
works
better.
better.
Oh,
Oh,
that's a
that's a
bad
bad
echo.
echo. Let me see if this works. Yeah, there we go. That's actually a lot better. In 10 minutes since he messaged last, telling me 10 more minutes. I'm just getting a bit tripped out by the lag in the stream just due to watching a live stream on YouTube, so I'll just turn the audio off that. Usaging it again to see what's going on. It's been half an hour at this point, still waiting. So just a little bit. Thick tonight as well. So let Drew know when he gets on if I have to step aside to blow my nose or whatever. Yeah, I've got one of these Vicks inhalers. So, okay, this actually does show up. That's good. Makes this worse the fact that I can't really be staying up till whoop o'clock since I'm heading to Townsville in the morning to check out. I'll talk more about it when he's got me on the stream. Cigarette. I fucking need to talk to him anyway. You can go and watch my last discussion with him. Um, You'll find it on his channel, but it was a while ago, so you'll be scrolling through his live section for a little bit where he talked about various things. It was a shit show. Absolute shit show. Um, just to preface this discussion, I made clear to him discussion, not debate, because we both have a tendency to interrupt each other, which, you could probably go and watch his debate with Adu, another communist YouTuber in Australia. Um, and 4 hours of just interruptions and all that crap and whatnot. But so to preface, I said discussions, not debate. We're going to try not to interrupt each other. Um, because otherwise it just descends into a shouting match. Um, and I pointed out um, that I just want to talk about the march as well as the sovereign citizens movement. Um, said where, like, as much as I would love to chew his head off again, it pisses me off to talk to him about Gaza because, yeah, last time, well, I've spoken to him twice before. Technically, the second one was very sort of on the spot. Um, the the second one, he pissed me off. It pissed me off enough that I basically said that all the Zionists in Israel deserve to die for it, without realizing that amounted to millions of Jews. So, so yeah, there's a reason I just said we're not even going to discuss Gaza. We're not going to turn this into a heated shit show debate. Um, it's because I don't want to be pissed off. I don't want to be driven to the point where I say something fucking unhinged again. Um, so um, yeah, so that's the march and sovereign citizens, nothing else. So I probably have a little bit to ask him when we actually get started. Uh, it's a couple of other things that shouldn't take too long. And for any kids watching, you shouldn't be watching. Smoking kills. Don't do it. I'll say now, I've been smoking for probably 3 years now. Embarrassing story, actually. Got peer pressured by a bunch of 14-year-olds. Just say that. Won't say anything more than that. Oh, and I was like 20, 20, 21. So, yeah. Uh, as for how it was so easy for a bunch of teenagers to peer pressure me into smoking, that's that's a long story that would require me counting an entire autobiography. So it's just wait for one particular series of my planned original novels, and probably preface each one of those with a piece of autobiography, since it's kind of, again, long story. Um, yeah, draw this. I literally could have sat here and had dinner. That's how long this is taking. Sitting here in the same clothes and meant to take the bloody council tomorrow. I did notice almost immediately after I posted the link to the stream on X, it got liked and reposted by like a right wing libertarian account, and I mean I guess it's just because of the content of the discussion, but I'm not a libertarian. Literally well, okay, I am a libertarian. I'm a libertarian socialist. In other words, not a tanky, not a Marxist Leninist. And the label I use on X is militant Christian anarchist, which is probably something I'll unpack at some point in a standalone video. But yeah, maybe while I'm waiting to kill some time, I can go through some of the books I'm reading. Got a massive collection of books here. Um, we're reading sort of a fiction and a non-fiction concurrently. The non-fiction I've been reading at the moment um, is Michael Heinrich's An Introduction to the Three Volumes of Karl Marx's Capital. So the famous, or should I say, well, infamous in many circles, critique of political economy, that sort of critique of the capitalist system, you know, even as a libertarian socialist. Um, uh, Even as a libertarian socialist, Karl Marx's input is still considered invaluable. Um, he was the one to really shine a light on a lot of things regarding the capitalist system. And I mean, there, I mean, you'd probably be surprised to know that some of the billionaires in America, um, the ones that seem to give off this more, in a sense, class conscious vibe where they kind of keep themselves hidden. They're not like Elon Musk, where they just publicize themselves with their frank stupidity and utopian nonsense. What's his name? Warren Buffett spoke about, spoke about the bourgeoisie winning a class war. And, it's people like him. It's those ones you've got to be afraid of. Because the ones like Elon Musk who are so, kind of draped in delusions of grandeur, oh, let's colonize Mars, let's, terraform Mars so we can go live there. Getting his Nazi breeding cult, bloody reaching out to women on X, reaching out to like a market women and going, "You want to have my babies?" Jesus Christ! It's just like gives him a lot of money to shut their mouth and have his kid. Just yeah, We got like something like 20 kids in reality. I hope I don't get fucking banned from X for talking about this shit. But I don't know. See how it goes. Still waiting for him. I asked him again. Is it ready yet? No response. Fiction book I've been reading at the moment. Classic one. Mary Shelley's Frankenstein. That one's just sort of preparation for another one of my fiction novel projects. Got a bunch of stuff to read in that respect for some inspiration. So the one in question is just going to be a sci-fi action romance sort of hybrid um, novel, which will just be um, I don't want to say too much, but like it's going to be like AI stuff. Picking on Elon Musk, but I'm just as upset shit at times. You know, I'm just gonna spend a bunch of time just reefing through books while I just reefing through books while I wait for Drew. See him again. I'm hoping this isn't like me being stood up because that'd be fucking talk about a prank. Talk about a sick prank. If he's just because I reached out to him for this, he didn't reach out to me. So yeah, I'm not sure if he was actually going to do a stream tonight, but yeah. So I reached out to him to saying like, oh, do you want to hop on a stream and discuss the march and the sovereign citizens and some other stuff. He's taken a recent turn further to the right as well, which is sort of, I mean, you usually as long as you know, last time we spoke, he was fucking shill for the Labor Party, but now he's fucking not too long ago bloody praised um what's his name, Andrew Hastie, the one who was running against Susan Lee for leadership of the Liberal Party. after how badly they smashed this election. That was fucking crazy. Just that studying Andrew Hasty. So he's a member of the National Right faction, Hasty. Part of so part of the same faction as Dutton was, which so kind of thinking like, what the fuck happened? Gonna want to ask him that. I want to ask him what happened because, as far as I know, all this started with because he just got mugged and apparently by an immigrant or something. He just got mugged by an immigrant, stole his wallet or something, and all of a sudden just started turning further to the right and is now praising fucking like praising national right liberals or like I also saw him call Albanese a Trotskyist, and I'm like, Drew himself was a Trotskyist at some point. I don't know whether whether he was like actually a member of like Socialist Alternative or something. But Drew just like probably like I don't know how many years ago, probably not that long ago. He's not much older than me. Just he was a Trotskyist, and I doubt he would have called Albanese a Trotskyist then. I was a Trotskyist for a while too, and I never called. And I was still every time I just want to make it clear to anyone who comes through and watches this stream, who is like someone who believes that like the Labour Party or the Greens are like communists or something. They're not. Like, let me make that clear enough. And I'm saying this as a communist. I am a communist, a libertarian communist, not a Soviet communist, but a communist. And even the tankies will not like put a fucking 10-inch pole between them and the Labour Party. It's like this isn't some socialist thing. Like socialism isn't just when the government does stuff. Like that's a bullshit libertarian talking point. It's or right libertarian. It's not like I know this is meant to be a stream about the march, right? But I feel like while I'm waiting, he hasn't even seen my last message, so I don't know what's going on. I'll be like, pretty much been streaming almost an hour. We were supposed to start this at 7 o'clock. It's now like 8:40. So it's been an hour and 40 minutes, and so we're meant to start. Like I couldn't even really directly get a hold of him either. I tried to. Oh. tried to message him. I even responded to some of his posts, some of his ex posts saying, "Oh, did you want to have a chat?" And then I DM'd one of his mates or something, asked on Twitter. Um, also got nothing. So I ended up I had this mate of his blocked on Discord as well. Um, so I actually had to unblock him. But because we were friends and didn't have any mutual servers, I had to like temporarily um, rejoin the Discord server of Monuments to Misinformation. Um, so I could DM him on Discord, ask him to see if he could put the message through, and he said, yeah. So, like, what the fuck's going on? Yeah, yeah, This is some kind of sick joke. I will be pretty pissed off. 1 hour of streaming, still nothing. 15 minutes from now, and it'll basically be 2 hours. 2 hours since we're meant to start this. Even seen my last message yet? No. This one's like, hey man, I'm sorry. You know, he's just asking me if we can do it 10 a.m. tomorrow. I'm like, I'll be in town for won't have my laptop or nothing on me. It's been streaming for an hour, and now he's just going. I can wait a bit longer, even though it's been over an hour. He's like, I can't do it tonight. If he says he really can't do it tonight, there's nothing I can do about that. At that point, I'd probably just see. Oh, I've got live chat. All these messages. If he doesn't respond by like 9:15, I will just um I will just say what I was gonna say. I'll just say what I was gonna say regarding the march and sovereign citizens, and just uh, and then just call it. Just finish this cigarette. If he hasn't responded by then, it's just yeah. Yeah, I'm just gonna finish this cigarette and then I'll explain it all. Yeah, it's not coming. Um, so I did have things I wanted to say. Um, with respect to tomorrow's marches, my current intention is to go to the march in Townsville, and whether I participate or stay will really depend on the vibes. Um, namely, with regards to how many people are like, genuine people who just have, you know, legitimate concerns, if mildly misguided, in my opinion. Um, like, yeah, if there are people there who are genuine, I'll be inclined to stick around. Because I'm not sure if there's any kind of counter protest set up for Townsville. If it's just a bunch of Nazis and white supremacists, I won't even bother. Um, I won't even bother. I'll just bugger off and get something to eat or something. Um, but basically, I think this is probably partly because I spend so much time on X or Twitter. Um, it sort of had the effect of keeping me out of like a sort of echo chamber. In a sense, it's kind of it's humanized conservatives. Not obviously, it has not humanized fascists, like disgusting people. Um, and there have been a lot of people who are more genuine, who are less, who aren't, bloody white supremacists or neo Nazis, uh, who have expressed interest in going to one or another of the marches. And and sort of that's why I have the belief that, or I said this at various points. I got a bit of pushback from fellow um, communists and anarchists for this. Uh, but I was saying, like, instead of counter protesting, that, like, the left should join with like the more genuine, the decent people who are going to be at the march. Those who aren't just going to make it about race, about kicking out the Browns, or heaven forbid, exterminating the Aboriginals again. Um, like the left should sort of stand hand in hand with those more genuine people and push out the Nazis. Just tell them to fuck off because they're disgusting people. Um, and it's not. And like when I say Nazis, I'm not just talking about the National Socialist Network. Like I'm talking even people like Hugo Lenin, Osbill, like people like him, like, and like the ethos. I was getting pushback for understandable reasons. To be fair, which is predominantly that the march was organized initially by people on the far right. There does seem to be some evidence, in fact, that NSN was involved. And even if not NSN, Ozpill, I've been told, was invited to join NSN, but he declined for reasons of optics, which, you know, um, birds of a feather flock together, I suppose. Um, so my whole thing was like seize the march from the Nazis, tell them to fuck off, because at the end of the day, these are people who don't just want, an end to mass immigration. Who don't just want a lowering of the number of people brought in. I mean, I've personally met someone who ran in the electorate. I mean, in the federal election that's just gone, um, who wanted to just shut the border completely for like 5 years or something, so that infrastructure and whatnot could catch up. Um, and I'll be meeting up with him tomorrow because we did get to chatting prior to the election with somewhat kept in touch. He was actually the one who urged me to run against Bob Katter in 2028. Which I've ultimately decided against. I've become convinced that we don't really live in a democracy anymore. All the parties are captured by the Israel lobby, um, and they all serve the same class at the end of the day. Uh, you know, Anthony Albanese and Adam Bandt both were communists, and they joined the parties, and they like. At the end of the day, if you join the system, you will be absorbed into it. Uh, and that's really one of the that's really one of the big things there. Um, But the ethos I basically had with respect to this idea of progressives, liberals, and conservatives, sort of, reasonable, decent conservatives, um, sort of joining hands in some respect was, put simply, that to me at least, I think that calling for an end to mass immigration can mean something different to just shutting the border. In fact, in the eyes of someone like myself, I would say that what can be done is to call for an end to the conditions which produce mass immigration. Those being things like war, those being things like incentivizing brain drain, failing to focus on domestic workers, um, um, and all this other kind of stuff. There are certain conditions which have led to the mass immigration we're seeing today, and I would have said this with Drew. I wasn't going to talk about housing and immigration because Drew already spoke about that with Adu. Uh, and there's really nothing I could say that Adu didn't or hasn't said better, either in his own videos on the subject or in his debate with Drew. Uh, so, so now, yeah, the conditions that produce mass immigration can be done away with. So, I guess what I'd probably call this is like an organic reduction in immigration, as opposed to one that is legislated via shutting the border, deporting people. Uh, now, obviously, the whole thing about the march being set up by Nazis, there is some pretty damning evidence. Monuments to Misinformation did make a video on the subject. It's a previous video. You can go and look it up right now. I was already aware of Ozpil's involvement. I was already aware of NSM trying to co-opt the march if they didn't have a direct involvement setting it up. Uh, and the third thing he brought up, which was the most damning, which I didn't know about, was that the website for the march initially didn't just say an end to mass immigration. It talked about remigration, which is far right code word for mass deportations, for for kicking people out, which inevitably becomes, like, when we're talking about mass deportations, it pretty much inevitably becomes about race. I mean, we've seen what's going on with Trump in America with regards to ICE and all that, and that I obviously don't support in any way, shape, or form. Now, the reason I oppose a legislated policy of shutting the border or restricting visas. Heaven forbid mass deportations, especially based on race. Put simply, which I would have told Drew, I wasn't going to bring up housing or bring up cost of living or anything like that. Rather, I'm simply going to appeal to sorry. Fuck it. I was going to appeal to human rights, which I don't know if this right is in like the UN Declaration or whatever. But it's a right that has historical precedent for pretty much all of history, up until the point where we had modern capitalist nation states controlling concrete borders. And put simply, I'm talking about a right to freedom of movement. That people should not be prevented from going wherever they want to go. And now, granted, this is excluding things like, look, obviously that kind of right does become compromised if you begin infringing on the rights of others. Like if you're going to go somewhere to another country and start attacking people or doing anything like that, you're infringing on their rights and therefore you lose yours in that instance. I mean, that's pretty much the simple way, that human rights work. Like, a person has a I can't think of an example off the top of my head. I'm fucking tired. Um, Full day at work. I've been working all week. Looking forward to having tomorrow off to go to the march. But that's basically my ethos there. I don't want to infringe on a person's right to freedom of movement. And that's why what I really support is if we're talking about ending mass immigration, we shouldn't just be talking about deporting people or shutting the border. What we should really be talking about is ending the conditions which lead to it. Things like war, imperialism. Like in that respect, in that single respect, a lot of the pro-Palestine counter-protesters are probably being anti-mass immigration in a far more humane way. And like I get that people are concerned. I would simply just like redirect people to Anu's video on the subject. I will leave it in the description. I'll put it in the description after this. Go after the stream's done. Like it's not the problem it's made out to be. Like right wingers and not really right wingers, like far right wingers, just amplify it. Like it's this big issue, like it's this existential threat. It's a scapegoat. I mean, look at Ozpill, for instance. He's one of the biggest names in this rally. Apparently he's the one organising the Melbourne rally. His father owns a property investment firm, Pete, that has 30,000 empty properties that are kept off the rental market for no other reason than speculation for profit. People like him and his family are the real problem, not the immigrants. And you know, I've been told, oh, he's acting against his family's interest. Well, depends what one means by those interests. Short-term profit is an immediate interest. However, we've seen this in the past with the fascist regimes in the 20th century. That the ruling class, the capitalists, were willing to put aside that goal of short-term profit for the sake of maintaining control. On a surface level, they might be acting against their interest, their immediate interest of profit, to buy, you know, scapegoating immigrants who obviously provide a lot of labor for many jobs and industries. But like at the end of the day, the maintenance of their class position will take precedence over that short-term profit motive if that class position is threatened, which it is. It is being threatened by a rising far left, of which I am a part. It's just like ultimately they are the problem, not the immigrants. These property investment firms these property investment firms contribute so much more to the problem than the immigrants do. And it's not just domestic firms. It's foreign firms as well. And And so, really, you can protest against that ruling class by protesting against the conditions that lead to mass immigration. Not the mass immigration itself, and by that logic, the immigrants. And that was basically my ethos behind sort of hoping that people on the left would actually join in the rallies. And not just that, to push out the Nazis and the white supremacists. That's a big thing there as well. It's just like, yeah, I mean, that's really all I have to say on that. I might get pushback for saying this. I'll probably get pushback from both sides, to be honest, both comrades and political adversaries. And the other thing with respect to the sovereign citizens, I mean, that's probably, given that that's not, an event happening tomorrow that I would have loved to speak to Drew about the night before, the sovereign citizens issue is probably something I can talk to him about another time alongside something else. I don't know. So, yeah, I mean, I'll probably just end it with sort of a very brief overview of my thoughts on the sovereign citizens. I recently watched the Four Corners documentary. I'll leave that. I'll put that in the description as well for anyone who wants to go and have a look at that. Along with the Four Corners documentary about the rise of the NSN. Just leave those in there, along with Adam's video on immigration. So, that's one thing really to consider. But the sovereign citizens, I don't want to say too much. It probably just feels kind of redundant now that Drew's not covered. But yeah, my take on that is a bit more nuanced than I think either side would expect. I should preface by saying I don't agree with the sovereign citizens, and I would say the same thing when I do talk to Drew, if I talk to Drew. But there was certainly some nuance regarding what I've seen in the Four Corner documentary. So yeah, it is. It is. It's something I'll probably talk about another time. Either I will either I will make my either I'll speak to Drew tomorrow or another time uh, about the subject, or I'll just make a video on it independently. Um, yeah, I'll leave those two Four Corners documentaries and Anna's video on immigration in the description once I get off. And I'll just finish this here. I mean, after having sat here doing all of this waiting around and talking shit, and then finally just getting to the point on the march because he didn't show up. Maybe I should do streams more often. I could do gaming streams. I could do reaction streams. There are a few things that I do. Um, so yeah. Yeah, the cough's getting a bit bad anyway, so I'll just so I'll just finish things off for now. Um, so yeah, but if you watched through the whole thing, I'll leave a timestamp for when to really get to the point. But yeah, I'll close it off now and Drew, let me know when you want to chat. We can talk about sovereign citizens or anything else. So I should also say, with regards to that manhunt in progress for the person who seems to be one of these sovereign citizens, um, the police shooter. My heart goes out to the families of the two police officers who were killed. Um, some elements of the communist left might push back against me, saying that. I mean, look, communists hate cops. You know, the only unions that communists won't work with are police unions, and look, it's for a legitimate reason. But my heart does go out to the families of those two officers who were killed. Um, and I should probably say the same thing for the families of the police who were killed in a similar incident last year. It's like, if a communist did something like this, they would be condemned as an adventurist, I imagine. It's just like, what sense is there in it? Like, there's really not much sense in it either, and it's just yeah. But yeah, my heart goes out to the families of those two officers who were killed. I unfortunately, personally, I can't imagine how it must feel to lose a loved one, yes, especially in such a tragic way. Um, so, yeah, I just wanted to finish off with that for the sake of not coming off like an absolute asshole, since I intended to talk about sovereign citizens, which were with the context of this manhunt in the background. This doesn't mean I'm softening up to the police as an institution. However, as individuals, particularly their families, it's a very bad situation. And I'm not sure if they found the shooter yet. I would have assumed that Drew probably would have let me know if they did, because he's probably keeping up with it slightly more than I am. I've only really seen it on the TVs at work while I'm playing it. But yeah, so there's really not much else to say. I'll just finish it there. And um, thanks for tuning in. I guess I'm sorry this is such a fucking disappointment. Uh, but yeah, so I'll probably do this again sometime soon. Maybe play a video game or something. Um, but yeah, so thanks for tuning in if you've been here the whole time. So yeah, so yeah. Goodbye, Australia.